Welcome back, everybody, to the Pitch Please podcast. This is Mike here. Today, I'm going to be joined by Will from Formify. I'm going to restart that because that was the shittiest first sentence I've ever spit out.
No worries. I'm definitely gonna have some of those, so
It's all right. They're
I'm
easy
glad
to
we
roll
we
with when they're in stream. It's really bad when you start with them.
okay.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Mike from the Pitch Please podcast. Today, I'm joined on the show with Will from Formify. Will, why don't you kick us off with a quick introduction about yourself and a little bit about your background, your own career journey, and what you're up to at Formify?
Yeah, for sure. So I originally studied aerospace engineering at TMU. And kind of through that, I got to meet a bunch of people at an internship. This was right when COVID was coming around. And as COVID kind of hit, we all the interns across Magna were actually laid off at the same time. And through that, we kind of said, hey, we're bored. What should we do? And we looked for a problem to solve in gaming mice, and the one size fits all solution that's currently there, that was the problem that we found to try to solve.
That's super cool. So, how is the entire team or core people that you were sort of working with in Magna that got laid off all part of the founding team of Formify?
No, so there's five core members. So the three engineers, yes, we are at the Magna engineers, if you will, because we're all part of that new technologies and innovation division. But there's also Alex Chapman, who's kind of more the businessy lead, and as well as my brother Kenny MacLaughlin, who is a full-time. He's a director photographer. His feature just came out. Check it out, Cult Hero. But he does a lot of the videography stuff, a lot of the media production for us.
That's super cool. So, you went to school for aerospace engineering. Can you explain a little bit about what that entails? Because I'm going to guess that it's has relatability to what we're going to talk about around Formify, but probably could take you down a million other career paths. Like, are you building the next SpaceX spaceship, or what is aerospace engineering, and where did you do that?
Yeah, for sure. So I did it at TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University. Um, I did go into the space stream. So technically, I studied rockets and stuff. In the earlier years, there's a lot of avionics like lift drag, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, definitely, I felt my interests were a lot in mechanical design, and even a lot of those really cool things you can do, like topology optimization, generative design, and finally parametric design, which is kind of where a lot of this comes out of, is stemming into some parametric design fields.
Can you explain to me parametric design?
Yeah, okay, sorry, call me out if I'm using jargon,
No, it's
but
totally cool.
basically, it's like when design has variables. So like if you take like a shirt, for example, shirts are kind of parametric design because they're small, medium, large, but often it's taking it steps further. So like a fully tailored suit, if you will. So where everything's variable, and you can really have individualized design.
Got it. I'm starting to see the trend of how these things connect. So you did that. Were you an entrepreneur in a previous life? Do you have entrepreneur mentors? Like what sort of, or was it just the curiosity of solving a problem? Like what was sort of the tipping point that inspired you to become an entrepreneur here?
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say my entrepreneurship journey, if you will, started. Have you heard of College Pro or any of the painting, student painting things? Or
Yep, I have some friends that did that as well.
yeah, so I did Scholars at Your Service. Definitely not entirely what I expected when I went into it, but I ran the Owen Sound division, and it was good. I did around 85K in sales, made every mistake there is to make under the sun, probably, but learned a lot from it. Probably had way too much responsibility for a 19-year-old, but it was a great experience in the end, and it was one of the best learning experiences of my life. So I'd say that's where I caught the entrepreneurial bug. And yeah, as far as the point of actually starting Formify, uh, I'd say we're a bunch of engineers really looking for a problem to solve, and that's after that Magna separation, and it was a way to stay together and a way to keep working.
That's
And
super. That's super cool. Now,
yeah,
talk to me about the scholars business. Is that also painting, or was it something else? How did that work?
yeah, it's painting. It's literally almost the exact same as College Pro. Like if you know College Pro, you know it, but it's mostly exterior painting for people's houses. It's door-to-door sales by students in the summer to sell exterior paint jobs. and you also produce them. So definitely a good summer. Probably did knocked on thousands of doors, did hundreds of, maybe not hundreds of quotes, but about 100 quotes, I bet, and did some painting that summer, which was a great experience.
That's cool. I think at its core, it teaches you a bunch of skills that are going to be super valuable in a variety of things. I don't think people, maybe they do, but I don't know that everyone appreciates the challenge of knocking on someone's door that you've never met before and trying to get them interested in something you're doing. And like, it's sort of like public speaking on repeat with like extreme grit for door. I'm sure you've had doors slammed in your face. I'm
Oh,
sure you've
100%.
been
Yeah.
told off. Like, what's sort of the maybe let's even talk about that before we dive into much else. Like, what's like the craziest story from your time doing that?
Oh, I can't think of much specific, but definitely not everyone's the nicest when you're knocking on their door randomly, which is fair. It's totally fair. Like I have been in moods where it's like, why are you knocking on my door, man? But definitely some not nice people, but also some really nice people as well. But a lot of grit to be had, I think that was built there. Um, so yeah, it was door knocking. I think everyone should try it at
Yeah,
some point. I feel like it's a good character building experience.
they should just like build it into school curriculums or business programs, probably.
Yeah, maybe they tried with the chocolates. Maybe that's what they were doing. The
Oh yeah, the chocolates.
yeah.
So as an engineer that loves solving problems, is there a company you look up to when you think of like inspiration and just generally in entrepreneurship or overall? Like, is there a company you look up to, and if so, which one and why?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I haven't thought. I'd say there's like those How I Built This podcast I really like.
Yeah,
Um, to pick out some favorites, I liked the Ring guy. I don't even remember his name, which is poor show. But I really like that podcast. The Airbnb one, where they talked about just. I think they even sold a cereal box to clear the credit card debt at one point.
yeah.
Hearing those crazy stories definitely are inspiring.
You were definitely like me as a kid and watching the How It's Made show.
Oh yeah, yeah, how
Just
it's
like those things
made.
on YouTube, I could like watch them for hours, like how it's made, and just like all this. For you, there's probably general useful knowledge. For me, for what I do, completely useless knowledge, but it's amazing.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So let's maybe talk a little bit about Formify, but before we jump into it, there's obviously a very critical piece of the show and the title of this show, and we're going to start with your elevator pitch, and then we'll kind of recap and go through a bunch of parts of your business. But to kick us off, Will, your pitch, please.
Sure. Okay. So we think it's ridiculous that in something as competitive as gaming that everyone's using the same shaped mouse. That's why we came up with Formify. We leverage AI and additive manufacturing to build a perfectly shaped mouse that's geared for performance, allowing you to game better.
Love it. Now, you told us a little bit about how that got started back when a bunch of you, five of you, were together at Magna. Um, but maybe let's talk about the journey. Like, you didn't just say, let's build a custom mouse. So there's
Yeah.
probably some whiteboarding sessions. So, like, what got you from the day the five of you got laid off at as interns at Magna to where and how this problem popped into your minds to maybe even getting to where you are right now? Just talk a little bit about that journey for us.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say as the pandemic kind of rolled in, definitely doing a lot of video games, as maybe a lot of people did. And through that, I was really interested in purchasing computer hardware. I was looking around. I bought a really nice mechanical keyboard, bought like some of those things that yeah, you can get. One of the things I was looking at was an Azeron keypad, which was this, it was actually 3D printed, but not parametric. So it was this really cool claw looking um, keyboard basically that replaces what you normally use, and it has all these buttons and you can hit everything really cleanly. It's a really cool thing, and it's 3D printed. But I was like, if it's 3D printed, why are we not custom sizing these to people? Because Johnny, one of the other, like I have very small hands, whereas you compare to Johnny, he has if you see a picture, like an overlay of our hand, it's like almost double the size. So why are we using the same shaped mouse in something we're competing in? Um, so I guess kind of that proof of concept, you can do 3D printing scalably, and it just becomes a software problem at that point to really make something individual. And that was the problem we set out to solve and to build that software, that automation of design.
That's super cool. Talk to us a little bit about this space. So, for people that game or people that don't game, like, what is the market for mice? Like, I imagine it gets way more complex than just walking into your neighborhood Staples or Best Buy. There's probably wide varieties for the everyday consumer, and that expands probably even further in the gaming world. Can you talk a little bit about like what options do exist? Like, even you're talking about the keyboard mouse. How do people how do people pick the
Yeah,
optimal amount
yeah.
for them today? Like, how does that even work?
Yeah, so the gaming mouse industry, it's kind of like sneakerhead a little bit. Like it's really big. It's bigger than people think. Like it's I think 3.6 billion globally and 1.2 in North America. Um, and I'd say the driving factors really people look for right now. The market's going really lightweight, and there's been a lot of papers that have come out that confirm like a lightweight mouse, especially when combined with the lower sensitivity of sensitivity being like if you move your mouse more, then the screen moves less. So lower sensitivity, your screen moves less. So you need a bigger mouse pad, etc. So if you combine that with a really lightweight mouse, you can start performing pretty highly. And it's been confirmed with the studies, etc. So that's really one of the main things, which I can get into that a little bit later, maybe about how we're doing some cool lightweighting stuff. And the other thing is shape. So there's a lot of different like right now, if you're trying to find your perfect shape, you have to go around and kind of shop and like try out all these different things. And in the end, it might not even be the right size because sure, you can find a shape you like, but really they're just taking the average hand size and designing for that.
And you're
Um,
probably buying a little bit on like you think that's something that will be comfortable for your hand. You think it looks cool. Um,
yeah,
Corded versus
especially,
cordless. Like, what's better for gaming? Do you want cordless or you want
yeah,
corded?
you want
Like,
cordless
zero
now. Yeah.
latency? Like, how's this work?
Yeah. People do latency studies. It's like, I think even yeah, you can get 15 ms latency overall, like everything all together, like start to finish, with wireless. And yeah, some wired mice are even 16 ms, 20 ms. So it's yeah, wireless can even beat some wired mice at this point, which is
Wow,
cool
because
to
you're
think
tripping
about.
over the damn cord.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So you talked about gamers. Is it mostly gamers that you're targeting? Is that the core audience that would use something like this? Do you see the possibilities of um, parametric design? Am I using that right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
metrics of
parametric design. Yeah.
parametric design applied to mice as like a more broad audience. Like, who or how do you think about your audience or who uses a Formify mouse?
Yeah, so we actually started out doing both. We had an office version that was we actually designed with a lot of iterations with Stella Wang, who's a hand specializing physiotherapist, and we sent her some 3D printed shapes, etc. And we iterated with her a bit. So we had our office ergonomic design, and then we have our gaming design, which we've iterated with a lot of creators and professionals in the scene to try to get our best mouse there. And we did find that people that were most excited about it and were like calling us back, be like, "When's this happening more?" Was the gamers. They care. And down the road, we totally do want to do a more ergonomic version, and have it as like an MX Master kind of like office mouse. But yeah, right now, gaming first, and ergonomics down the road um, for office workers. That being said, our mouse is more ergonomic for gamers than the current market per se.
Got it. So I'm going to want to learn more about how your mouse is built. But theoretically, the way that this works, you're targeting gamers, but right from jump, like it could apply to anybody. There's no reason that if you wanted just a more ergonomic mouse, you couldn't use this, or if you maybe had accessibility issues with a current mouse, that you couldn't use a Formify mouse. But your target market to start because of the energy around it is going to be gamers.
Yeah, exactly. And it is the gaming design is not the perfect ergonomic design. So It will likely be better than what you have, guaranteed. But we still build some tension into the fingers because that's desirable. We build. It's not like a fully form fit supported, so your hand's designed to be not perfectly relaxed on it. There's some tension there. So it's definitely built for gamers. Our first iteration here. But yeah, down the road, we're definitely we'll be built for ergonomics and office as well.
Okay, I'm learning a ton now. So maybe this would be a great time to actually start to talk about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
process of how you get to a custom mouse and actually some of the design elements that you were talking about there. Like I didn't even realize that you want a certain style versus pure ergonomics in a gaming mouse. So talk to us about how the process works to get to the custom mouse and some key features that you are building in.
For sure, yeah. So I could take it. So all we need from you to get this custom mouse going is just a picture of your hand with a white piece of paper behind it that we use for scaling. And past that, our tech stack basically does the rest of the work. As far as how we actually do the design, so we basically automate the whole design of your hand in software, and then we bend your hand and point match the mouse underneath it. And through that, we've iterated this kind of all these different parameters that go into it to optimize the shape that will fall into your hand eventually. And one of the other cool things, I guess, the features that we're doing is because we're using this new additive manufacturing 3D printing technology called multi-jet fusion. um, we can do a lot of really cool lightweighting geometries. So there's like these really intricate, like weight optimized geometries that they even use in aerospace and they use in other industries that we can do that injection molding just can't do basically, and MJF can. So through that, we can actually get a lighter weight mouse um, than competitors.
That's super cool. So it all starts with a picture of your hand,
Yeah.
just taken with like a cell phone.
Yeah, that's it. Top down, cell phone. Eventually, we're gonna have an app. Right now, it's gonna be Google Form, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, top down, picture of your hand, fingers naturally spread, hand down. It has to be an 11, or sorry, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper.
And it has to
Um,
see the whole sheet of paper. That's what you mean by
yeah,
it
your
figuring
hand
out the
has to be on
measurement.
the paper, and we use that to the four corners basically to flatten it as well as scale it as well, so we can get the actual right hand size and everything.
That's super cool. And then so there's like a tech step in between here. So you plug it into some custom software that you've built to actually get to this hand based model that you would apply.
Yeah, exactly. So to go through to not try not to get too technical, but
Yeah.
basically our tech stack in a nutshell is custom data input that's built with Python, PyQt, and a lot of Python stuff, as well as a watershed algorithm, etc. And then for a lot of the actual bending and mesh manipulation, we're using the Blender Python API. So that is kind of how that happens. And then there's an output with a whole, we do the Booleans and a separate script, etc. And eventually, we basically have an STL that we can shoot off to either third-party manufacturer, do some stuff ourselves, and that's the process.
That's cool. And so that gets you like the shape. And then everything else, would it be the same for every mouse? Like the actual clicks, the actual sensor, all those are basically pieces that you then snap into or plug into the custom outer shell. Is that sort of how it works? Like there's a
Exactly.
underbody on
Yes.
your car, like an underbody platform and like a top. Is that kind of how it works?
Exactly. Yeah. So we have two circuit boards that are the same in every mouse,
Okay.
and we position the front one is totally positioned parametrically under because it's the switches are directly under the clicker pads basically.
Yeah.
But then yeah, the other circuits, two circuit boards that are all the same in every mouse, and we click them in.
That's super cool. Are there competitors in this space of like custom mice?
Yes.
Okay, okay. What does that look like?
Yes,
And
there
like,
are.
where do you feel like you're most unique, and what sort of exists? You don't even have to drop their names, but like, what's the spectrum of this custom world of mice that I'm learning so much about for the first time?
Yeah, so there's a few competitors. I don't mind naming them at all. Um, I think we're first. I think we definitely started first, and I think we're still in first technology-wise in development as well. Um, but is there's an Italian company that I think is a little bit behind, but the big one is BMW sponsored a Fanatic um, design of basically bespoke mice, but they did it just for a single team. And I think they're still developing the software. And we kind of, obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but we kind of looked at their designs and they looked they kind of had all the holes on the top, so they yeah, that's and they looked a little less innovative, I guess, than
But
some of
it's
the designs
but it's
that we've
also
been
not at
going towards.
scale. You based on what you're saying, like it's not anyone has
As far
access
as I
to this.
know, yeah, last I checked, they're pretty much have built for a specific gaming team, and they're not quite ready to scale as of yet.
Got it. And so your key differentiator is that it's going to be built for scale with more broad access and extreme customization. Is there anything else that's sort of like a key differentiator of where you guys are going with this?
Yeah, so a lot of it's in the engineering, and a lot of the shape shape development takes a lot of time, I'd say. So we've been through legitimately hundreds of models, like physical models that we've went through and done A/B testing and micro focus groups, etc. So I'd say it's a very quantitative measurement, but I haven't felt their most, so who knows? But I think our shape will definitely, hopefully, be a trump card that we have there, as well as of course, all the other engineering as well, like the lightweighting designing we've been doing, etc. But
That's super cool. So
yeah.
what stage are you guys at? So like you've done some user testing. Can I go buy one of these at the store? Like where are you at in that journey? And I guess currently, and maybe even just expand on that and talk about like the next 6 month roadmap a little bit if you're open to it.
Yeah, for sure. So we have our Kickstarter and we have our third launch date. So we pushed it a number of times now, but really we're pretty confident on this one. February, mid to late February, you'll hopefully see us live Kickstarter launching, and we'll go from there. We have done a micro launch before, so I think we sold around 15 demos to get like a lot of feedback and iterate. That was about a year and a bit ago. But yeah, Kickstarter is going to be our big launch mid to late February, so that's our immediately on the horizon.
Got it. So roughly by the time this podcast rolls out, you should be able to go join the Kickstarter and get yourself a Formify mouse if you're interested.
Hopefully, okay, yeah, that's
No, no,
maybe
no,
if
no
it's dropping
pressure.
around February, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Fire on the butt, yeah, we need that.
Okay, well, we'll try to time this to roll out or like late Feb, maybe early March. That way, we kind of catch the timing with when your Kickstarter is going out. That'd be super cool. Well, I'll see who we can bump based on timing. But I think even that's part of this is if there's a way to time it around some of the cool things Canadian startups are doing, we'll try to make that work. Um, do you have a targeted goal for the Kickstarter of like number of mice you're trying to sell, or like do you have an ability to scale up, scale down? Like what's the scale of like V1, I guess?
Yeah, well, I think our technically, because it's part of the problem is the strategy with Kickstarter is you're really supposed to set it a little lower, and then due to that, you'll hit the front page faster because you hit your goal faster. For us, scalability is not as much of an issue as well because everything's built to order. So because of that, the financial advantage of scalability doesn't impact us quite as much. But internally, our goal is to sell hopefully around 500 to 1,000 units. So we'll see if we can hit that, and then yeah, as far as the financial goal, we haven't set that too much per se.
And that can be Canada wide, North American wide, worldwide. Is there like a scope to where you can sell those 500 to 1,000 on how you're setting up the Kickstarter?
Definitely, at least North American wide. We're still in debates about the European market. We had a couple articles written on us in France and Germany, so we really want to be able to do that. We just have to make sure it makes sense logistically and it's possible and feasible. But yeah, we really hope to be world, but at least North America.
What's the constraint? Is there like a constraint on putting out tech, or is it purely like a shipping and distribution constraint?
I don't actually know. That's mostly my co-founder Alex's kind of jurisdiction, but I know he had some qualms about it, and he was going to double check some things to make sure we can.
Got
But
it.
yeah, I think it's kind of shipping constraints slash duties, etc.
Got it. Makes sense. So it's pretty obvious where you make money. Like you sell a mouse. I don't think there's any incremental add-ons. So it's like a singular purchase. Do you have a range or already a set price on what you're thinking for the Kickstarter of like how much it would cost to join and get myself a custom mouse?
Yeah, yeah. So early tiers will likely be around 140, 145 USD. Later full price, looking at a little more than that. Pricing We're hoping to keep it around 200 Canadian because that's our main competitor is the Logitech G Pro X Superlight. So we're looking to be they're 200 Canadian as well. So we'll likely be in that range. Um,
Okay. And that's, I guess, like a pretty standard range for mice. Like as soon as you're getting into like pretty quality mice, they're in the 120 to $200 range. Is that sort of accurate?
yeah, exactly. So most the Logitech G Pro X Superlight is it's the go-to for a lot of people right now. And yeah, it's 200 Canadian, I think 150ish USD.
Cool.
Um, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Sounds like it's been an interesting journey coming from like being interns together at Magna, background in aerospace engineering. What's been sort of you or the team's most memorable story so far as you've kind of gone on this journey? How long has that journey been? Like we talked about this, like it could have been, 5 years or 3 months. Like how long has this journey been and what's been your most memorable moment?
I think we got to be closing in on 3 years. I think is that I think it's three. Yeah, I think we're closing in on 3 years here. Um, oh geez, a lot of memorable moments. I do always love the team outings. Like we'll get together. And we're lucky enough through the IBZ program that we have some students working with us who bring like great energy. So I'd say that those team outings and getting everyone together in person is like really puts oil on the gears to like get things moving. Um, to come up with a specific one, ooh, not too sure. I don't want to put any too much ties on it, but yeah, definitely definitely some good ones, some good beers were drank.
That's good. So I think it's
um,
just about the journey actually that you've been enjoying the most is like the journey with friends and the ability to get together and go solve a problem.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
That's cool. Is that where you can find the team most of the time? Do you have working space out of IBZ or touchdown space? How does that work? So you're in Toronto
Yeah,
most of the time, right?
yes, exactly. So there is an IBZ office space that we can use. We typically do that often for like our meetings and some meetups as well as some videography shoots. A lot of we do a lot of hand soldering for electronics is for a lot of like our electronic testing, etc. And that happens out of people's living rooms and bedrooms. Um, so that's where most of the design happens, I'd say. But yeah, also it's a beautiful IBZ space. We're very lucky to have access to that, where we've also done some design and testing, and so as well as some good meetups.
That's cool. What do you suspect is going to be like the biggest challenge you will face? Is it going to be in scaling the production of this? Is it going to be actually finding and getting like the awareness of a product like this out versus like market offered in store solutions? Like what's probably the biggest hurdle or challenge you guys foresee?
Yeah, so we've been so product focused for the past 3 years that I feel like hopefully we've got a lot of the kinks out of the product and the work line. Who knows? Like you never know what's in the future. Like especially with the chip shortage in electronics, um, anything can happen. But really, I'd say a main thing is just yeah, making sure we have that reach and being able to do those sales because that's really what we're focusing on now per se, getting our name out there. That being said, we do have um, a lot of we've got a lot of blog interest recently, which has been awesome, as well as some pro gamers that are getting involved as well. And I don't want to name names, but hopefully promoting on their YouTube channel, etc. and stuff soon. So
That's
hopefully
pretty
that all fingers crossed that all works out.
that's pretty sweet. In the regard of uh marketing something like this, is that going to be kind of your best path is like influencer in the gaming space? Or and who do you guys have a whole marketing team and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, yes and no. So we don't actually know what's going to be the best, and that's part of the part of the problem. But we're trying everything. We have a big blog list we're eventually going to reach out to on 10 days before the Kickstarter to see if people are interested in promoting it. We've been working with influencers and kind of doing an affiliate, giving like nice, generous, and even building some sub brands. We're hoping with the Kickstarter launch we can have your streamer's logo on the mouse essentially. If you purchase it, so working with some streamers like that, as well as, of course, your e-com, Facebook advertising, doing some of that as well, which has been going quite well actually in the past week. Just learning more about that. But Yeah,
That,
trying it all, seeing what works best.
that's super cool. It sounds like it's a really interesting space, and I think for me, as you're talking through the capability of what's here, obviously we talked about it at the beginning, but the the gamer space is your most core immediate focus.
Yeah.
But like talk to me a bit as a kind of hypothetical, I guess, but how could the exact same work you're doing translate to more comfortable, more ergonomic, maybe even more accessible mice? Could that translate pretty quickly to those categories for people?
Yeah, for sure. We have a great ergonomic design that we're ready to launch, and we're quite proud of. And as far as office work, there's people out there using it at the moment, and that's definitely something on our immediate horizon that we want to get in people's hands. Even other areas outside of the mouse, like we actually built out some bike grips as well, different parametric options that we're excited to pursue. But yeah, we're excited to get we're focused on this, get this out, and
Yeah,
see what else we
but
can do.
the tech that you're building to translate a picture of a hand into something
Yeah,
that's very customized at scale is interesting. Like I imagine that same technology could be applied to gaming controllers.
yeah,
Probably a
gaming
little bit more
controllers, yeah,
complex than like what's inside of them, but like you theoretically could do the same thing on those grips or the handles or the way your hands are, right?
100%. Yeah, gaming controllers we've looked into, keyboards as well.
Yeah.
We haven't experimented with that as much, but yeah, gaming controllers, keyboards, definitely things we want to look into down the road.
Yeah, like I'm almost thinking, and maybe you've already seen it, but obviously, like Microsoft has a bunch of accessibility peripherals for whether it be
Yeah,
Xbox,
yeah,
and so I'm almost like seeing the cool stuff that you're doing applied to that, which is not just like one version of, but it's like a version tailored to every single individual depending on the input they provide. And you've built the system to give it back out without too much extra work, as long as it's within a similar category, and I think that's super cool.
yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, individualized design. I think it'll be hopefully become more and more popular because it's
Parametric, sorry,
achievable.
parametric design.
Oh no, yeah, individualized parameters,
Yeah.
synonymous. No, it's totally fine.
Does the chip shortage affect you guys? Is there like a parts component of this that like you have dependencies?
Yep, it will a bit per se, but we're designing with inventories in mind in
Okay.
our latest design that is finished and will be shipped with the Kickstarter. Fingers crossed it won't be affected because there's such high inventories for each component that we're designing for. Um,
It's all
so
part of
hopefully not.
it's all part of the process, right? Like those first runs going to be how you learn anyway, and that's I think part of the
Yeah,
Kickstarter, right? If someone's joining a Kickstarter, they theoretically are your best advocates, right? They're going to be tolerant of the journey, but there you want to be like first at it. So everyone, when you join the Kickstarter, be really nice to the Formify team.
please.
Um,
We'll do our best for you guys.
so if people are interested in signing up for the Kickstarter or learning more, where's the best place or places for them to go? And we'll get them dropped into the show notes too. But just if you want to kind of give a shout out to the main places people should think about following and or signing up.
100%. Yeah. So if we haven't launched yet and things didn't work out, then you can find us at formify.ca, formify.ca. And you can sign up to our Kickstarter launch email set right there. And that's the best way to get in touch and stay following.
And if you have
Um,
launched, we'll be able to put the Kickstarter link in, right?
yeah, that'd be good. Which, yeah, I can shoot that over to you, Mike.
That's awesome.
Um, that'd be good.
Um, Anything else that you wanted to highlight about what the team's working on, the milestones ahead that we didn't cover off today? Well,
Not too well. Actually, if there is some Canadian listeners, TMU students, we are doing a tournament in the coming months just before the Kickstarter. So if you are a TMU student, come join our gaming tournament, and we can maybe meet you in person in the TMU Red Bull Gaming Hub.
that's super cool. When is that?
Let me check the launch date.
Well, you look that
Yeah, maybe
up.
this will be pushed past then. Let me take a look.
No worries.
It is sign up date ends January 28th. So probably launched after that.
All right, it's cool. Well, we'll be able to hear about how it went.
Yeah.
Um, now,
See the results.
now there's one thing we do, and I kind of bring it on jump to everyone that's on the Pitch Please podcast. But obviously, saying like saying Pitch Please podcast
Pitch
repeatedly,
please pod.
yeah,
Yeah, bit of a tongue
it
twister.
is right. And I didn't realize that until I had to say it a whole bunch of times. So I thought it'd be super funny to put guests on the spot and see how many times they can say it in a row before tripping up. And so
Oh, let's go.
you're gonna have to do it, and I'm not gonna tell you where you're gonna rank because the numbers are all over the place, and so you're gonna have to give them a listen to see how you stack up. But you jump in whenever you're ready. I'll keep count. When you trip up, I'm gonna write the number down.
Okay. I'm in. Okay, let me focus here. Gotta keep competitive. Um, Pitch please podcast. 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 That might have been messed up.
It was 10. Maybe I'll give you a generous 11. I'll give you a generous
Generous.
11.
Okay, well, good lucky number 11. We'll take it.
Oh, that's cool. Well, thanks for joining us today, Will. Thank you to everyone who tuned into the Pitch Please podcast. It was super cool learning about the work you and the team are doing at Formify. Wishing you sort of all the best on your launch, on your Kickstarter. Looking super forward to following the journey. And to everybody else, we will catch you on the next episode. Will, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Really appreciate you having us on.